using this -3 to 3 scale, where 0 is the sort of neutral. What do we refer to 0 as?
It's like an anchor point.
Your median.
Your median, yes. So anything above that is positive. Anything below that is not so good. So we're gonna start with Weston McKennie. Charlie, what grade are you giving Weston McKennie based on his Copa America performance?
Yeah, no goals or assists. He ran a ton. I give him credit because it wasn't he was lazy or didn't work hard. The effort was there, but the production for what he's capable of was not good enough. Nowhere near good enough for Weston McKennie. So a -2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
He didn't gravitate as much as you would like a person like Weston McKennie to.
I think I had him down as a -1, but I can be swayed. You make excellent points. All right, up next, Tyler Adams, Nico. What grade are we giving Tyler?
Tyler played 2 45-minute games and then a little bit more afterwards, but I'm not seeing the Tyler Adams that we saw in his greatest performances against Mexico, for example, the World Cup against England. I'm between, you guys want to help me out? I'm between a 0 and a -1. Because it wasn't bad. It wasn't all, I don't think he was directly responsible for certain moments of downfall for the U.S.
I have him as a -1. So.
Yeah? -1?
-1.
Like, what did he do for him to fall into the minus?
You have to think.
I will say he tried. He looked like he was one of the few players out there that really looked like they were trying. I know.
And succeeding is a 0.
Yeah.
So if we're going to do it by that.
Yeah. You got to remember, baseline average is a 0.
Yep.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's a -1.
And for what these players can do, what they're capable of, when we've seen them at their best, at their peak, it just wasn't good enough. And for Tyler Adams, he would look at himself in the mirror. He'd be the first one to say, I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And on the goal against Panama, the first one, he comes out of position. You're down a man. You got to stay compact. You got to stay organized. And so when he comes out, then you could see the shuffle, the trickle down effect of what happened. So, yeah, you're
okay.
And I know he's not the captain, but he's a self-imposed leader. He wants to be the one that rallies the troops, and to not get better results, that kind of falls a little bit on his shoulders.
Fair. Okay, Alexis.
Yes.
Gio Reyna.
So I thought long and hard about this. I believe in this kid's ability, and I want to see him shine. But based on what we saw, and I don't think anyone really deserves incredible scores here. Unfortunately for him, it's going to have to be a -2 for me. Someone to be influential. I don't think it was completely his fault. There were times where he was sitting too deep and not really be able to be effective in the way that I would love to see him, a little bit closer to goal and a little bit closer to Balogun. But at the end of the day, the results are what they are. And based on the way he played and based on the results we got, that's a -2 for me.
In the mix zone, I asked him, what's going on with your position? It was after the Panama game. What's going on with your position that you're playing so deep? You're starting in a position so deep. And it wasn't even a question for air. I really wanted to get some insight. And he said it's to get involved in the build-up, to be in contact with the ball more. But the idea in the Panama game was for him to be closer to the box. He said, I'm deeper to open up space for Christian and for Balo, but in the Panama game, the idea was to play him in a more advanced role. Obviously, it didn't happen. And that's
because of the red card.
Because of the red card, exactly. Yeah. I agree with -2.
All right, Charlie.
He was influential.
Speaking of red card, Tim Weah.
Yeah. I feel for him, right? Because first and foremost, he is a player who gives his all every time he's out there. He gives his all, and he's been really consistent with the U.S. men's national team up until this point, where he had a bad lapse of judgment. But in terms of someone who has character, to put his hand up and say, it was my fault, and someone who I think is going to bounce back and be stronger from this, it's him. But if you have to give a grade, he had 18 minutes played, put the team in a hole. It's a -3. There's no other way to look at it.
I know.
Yeah.
There's no other way. You cannot justify any other grade.
Yeah, hard to argue that one. Okay. Christian Pulisic, Nico.
2. The production was there. He scored. He assisted. He ran his ass off.
He did.
He set the tone. I don't know how many more followed. And that's what you want from your captain, from your leader, from who public opinion paints as the poster boy of this generation, and he was up to the task. How do you get to a 3? Winning.
Did you have it as a 2?
I would have been like 1.5.
Yeah.
But
I think
I actually had it at a 0 because I thought he did what I expected him to do. In a sea of folks who I wish met his energy and met his intensity. But to me, that is a 0.
But how was his performance?
Him. I'm talking about him.
Right, but
his performance. It's exactly what I expected him to do. I don't think you lived up to the expectation of what could have potentially happened. You didn't win games. You didn't put yourself in a position to gut the team forward or be a leader, be the captain in the Uruguay match.
But
he did the median. We know that's that player. He was that in Milan every match this season.
How do you?
That
how
to
do
me
you
is a
get
0.
How do you get a 1? How do you get a 2? You expect to score 5 goals in a Copa America?
No, you expect to outshine, to do more. I think he did the median.
No, he had
did
a
what was
positive.
expected.
He had a positive performance.
Exactly. Didn't we say 0 is positive? Didn't we say 0 is the base?
0 is.
Okay, then maybe a 1. If you want to say because it was positive, to me that still is a 0. To me, 1, 2, and 3 is as you get more exceptional. To me, that boom, you're a 0.
you thought he was a 0, honestly.
Yeah.
You thought he was average.
I think he
didn't
exactly,
stand out at all.
No. He did what we expected Christian Pulisic to do.
So
That's
was he
Christian
the best
Pulisic.
player?
Yes.
So the best
That
player
doesn't
gets a
automatically
0?
gives you a 2 or 3.
So you expected an A. He gave you an A.
Yeah.
So he's a 0.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Maybe a 1.
Conceptually.
Maybe a 1.
I
Maybe
think
I'm being a
we're
little bit tough. No,
interpreting
if 0 is the base.
Scale differently.
Yeah, maybe the scale's
yeah.
a little different. So fine, based on what you guys are saying, to me that's still just a 1. Because if we would have gotten through, if we would have won the Uruguay match because he scored a goal or did something wildly exceptional, then yeah, I get to the 2 or 3. But to me, 0 or 1,
You
and
said
I'll go
2
with 1.
initially?
I'll shift
Yeah.
to 1.
Okay.
You go out on the field, whistle's blown, everyone has a 0. And then what do you do to gain points or to subtract points? And Pulisic did a lot to gain points.
If you're simply gonna say by the whistle being blown, whatever, you get your name right on an SAT, you get 200 points, that's 0 for you, and then he's shined, I get where you're coming from with it too. For me, I'm grading it on a curve based on who he is.
So Messi would get 0s every game.
No, not every game, because there's times where
Most games by that scale.
somewhere in the 1 or 2. To me, 3 is beyond exceptional. You had an insane game.
Okay.
No? Is that not what we're doing?
Well, again, we'll have to reestablish the scale and how we are interpreting it because it feels like there's a few differences here, but that's okay. Let's go to Folarin Balogun.
Yeah.
Alexis, what grade you giving him?
I'm giving him a 1.
Okay.
And the reason I give him a 1 is because I thought he had a great game against Bolivia. I thought he had a great game against Panama. And I think we're starting to see the red card, I think, stopped the momentum of what we were seeing, which is him coming into the form that we had hoped he would be when he chose to play for the U.S. Versus some of the other nations he could have played for. We're starting to see him be influential in the runs. We're starting to see him get a lot more chemistry with midfield players. That, to me, showed me that player that we saw for a while that couldn't score, that looked a little bit, frustrated and confused out there at times. That seems to be going away, and we're starting to get a player who's become more influential, especially to I don't want to bring up his club form, but it wasn't great. So to see him start to shine with the U.S. and click with the other players, that to me was great. I give him a 1.
2 for me.
2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Given that this U.S. men's national team has yet to really support the number 9 position.
Fact.
And so for Balogun to show his hold-up play, the strength, the ideas with the runs, the right spacing for a 9, I think he impressed. And to do that, because I've been there, when you're starving for support and you don't have that link up, there's not anyone necessarily next to you, for him to show what he did in this competition, and when he got injured against Uruguay, you could see there was a noticeable difference in the attacking third. So for me, it's a 2.
Yeah.
Somewhere in between, but
Yeah. For me, he was the only player in which the needle moved forward for me, based on his
best performance.
Because I was a little bit down on
Balogun.
him for the reasons that Alexis pointed out, and I thought that this was his performance in Copa America kind of.
Yeah. Is it fair to say that none of us
Made
have
the
a
needle
question
go
as to
like
who the
this for
starting
me.
9 is now moving forward? As of right
there's
now?
for me, there's.
Yeah,
I remember
and I
before this
did.
competition
Yes,
there was.
I
I think
did.
all of us had questions.
Yeah, I did have a question, but I feel like he was the only one who raised in estimation for me throughout this Copa America. All right, that was fun. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we are checking.